Welcome to a journey through Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. Get comfortable, close your eyes, and let these fascinating facts about one of America's most historically significant states gently guide you to sleep. In 1643, Swedish settlers established the first permanent European settlement in Pennsylvania on Tinicum Island, creating a trading post that would mark the beginning of recorded history in the region. On March 4, 1681, King Charles II of England granted William Penn a charter for the land that would become Pennsylvania, paying off a debt owed to Penn's father, Admiral William Penn. William Penn founded Philadelphia on October 27, 1682, naming it from the Greek words meaning brotherly love, envisioning it as a haven for religious freedom and tolerance. Pennsylvania's frame of government, established in 1682, was one of the most progressive constitutions of its time, guaranteeing religious freedom and establishing an elected assembly. In 1683, German Quakers and Mennonites founded Germantown, creating the first permanent German settlement in America, which would influence Pennsylvania's cultural character for centuries. On February 18, 1688, Germantown Quakers issued the first formal protest against slavery in America, marking an early milestone in the abolitionist movement. The Walking Purchase of 1737 was a controversial land treaty where colonists allegedly defrauded the Lenape people by using runners instead of walkers to cover as much ground as possible in a day and a half. Benjamin Franklin arrived in Philadelphia in October 1723 at age 17. Where he would become the city's most famous resident and one of America's founding fathers. On May 9, 1754, Benjamin Franklin published the Join or Die political cartoon in the Pennsylvania Gazette, creating America's first political cartoon and calling for colonial unity. The French and Indian War began in Pennsylvania on May 28, 1754, when a young George Washington led an attack on French forces at Jumonville Glen in what is now Fayette County. On July 9, 1755, British General Edward Braddock was mortally wounded during the Battle of the Monongahela near present-day Pittsburgh, marking a significant defeat for British forces. The Mason-Dixon Line survey was completed between 1763 and 1767, establishing the border between Pennsylvania and Maryland and eventually symbolizing the division between free and slave states. The First Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia's Carpenter's Hall on September 5, 1774, bringing together delegates from 12 colonies to coordinate resistance against British policies. On April 19, 1775, news of the battles of Lexington and Concord reached Philadelphia, prompting Pennsylvania to mobilize its militia and prepare for revolution. The Second Continental Congress met in Philadelphia beginning May 10, 1775, where it would serve as the de facto national government throughout the Revolutionary War. On July 4, 1776, The Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia's Independence Hall, forever changing world history. The Liberty Bell, originally cast in 1752 for the Pennsylvania State House, became an enduring symbol of American independence and liberty, though it cracked beyond repair in the 1840s. On September 11, 1777, the Battle of Brandywine Creek in Chester County became the largest single-day battle of the Revolutionary War, with British forces defeating the Continental Army. British forces occupied Philadelphia from September 26, 1777, to June 18, 1778, forcing the Continental Congress to flee and establishing the city, temporarily, as a Loyalist stronghold. The Continental Army endured the brutal winter of 1777 to 1778 at Valley Forge, where approximately 2,000 soldiers died from disease, starvation, and exposure, yet emerged as a disciplined fighting force. On June 28, 1778, the Battle of Monmouth occurred as the last major battle in the Northern Theatre, with both armies claiming victory after British forces withdrew toward New York. Pennsylvania ratified the United States Constitution on December 12, 1787, becoming the second state to join the Union and earning its nickname as the Keystone State. Philadelphia served as the temporary capital of the United States from 1790 to 1800, hosting both the executive and legislative branches during this crucial formative period. The first Bank of the United States opened in Philadelphia in December 1791, establishing the young nation's first central banking system under Alexander Hamilton's financial plan. The Whiskey Rebellion erupted in western Pennsylvania in 1794, when farmers protested the federal excise tax on whiskey, leading President Washington to personally lead troops to quell the uprising. Lancaster served as the nation's capital for one day on September 27, 1777, making it the shortest-serving capital city in American history. Pennsylvania gradually abolished slavery, beginning with the Act for the Gradual Abolition of Slavery on March 1, 1780, becoming the first state to legislate the end of slavery. The city of Pittsburgh was incorporated on March 18, 1816, at the confluence of three rivers, positioned to become a major industrial center. Pennsylvania's state capital moved from Philadelphia to Lancaster in 1799, and then finally to Harrisburg in October 1812, where it remains today. The Pennsylvania Main Line Canal, completed in 1834, was an ambitious 395-mile transportation system connecting Philadelphia to Pittsburgh through a combination of canals, railways, and inclined planes. On August 28, 1859, Edwin Drake successfully drilled the first commercial oil well in Titusville, Pennsylvania, launching the modern petroleum industry and changing the world economy. The Pennsylvania Railroad, chartered in 1846, grew to become the largest railroad by traffic and revenue in the United States, earning the nickname the Standard Railroad of the World. Andrew Carnegie established his first steel mill, the Edgar Thomson Steel Works, in Braddock, Pennsylvania, in 1875, beginning his domination of the American steel industry. The Johnstown flood of May 31, 1889, over 2,200 people would lose their lives when the South Fork Dam failed, making it one of the most fatal disasters in American history. Pennsylvania became the birthplace of the American oil refining industry when Charles Lockhart built the Atlantic Refinery in Pittsburgh in 1861. The Homestead Strike of 1892 at Carnegie Steel became one of the most serious labor disputes in American history, pitting workers against Pinkerton agents in violent confrontations. Milton Hershey founded the Hershey Chocolate Company in Lancaster County in 1894, creating a chocolate empire and the company town of Hershey, Pennsylvania. By 1900, Pennsylvania produced nearly half of all steel manufactured in the United States, cementing its position as the industrial heart of America. The anthracite coal region of northeastern Pennsylvania employed over 180,000 miners by 1914, fueling homes and industries across the eastern United States. The Great Railroad Strike of 1877 began in Martinsburg, West Virginia, but Pittsburgh became a major flashpoint. This labor strike, also known as the Great Upheaval, would last 52 days. Henry Clay Frick revolutionized coke production in Pennsylvania, supplying essential materials for steel production and partnering with Andrew Carnegie to dominate the industry. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in New York City on March 25, 1911, led to significant labor reforms in Pennsylvania's garment and manufacturing industries. Pennsylvania's bituminous coal production peaked in 1918 at over 177 million tons, supplying energy for World War I industrial efforts. The Knox mine disaster of January 22, 1959, in Port Griffith marked the beginning of the end for Pennsylvania's anthracite coal industry when the Susquehanna River flooded into the mines. Bethlehem Steel, founded in 1857 in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, became the second-largest steel producer in America and built structural steel for iconic buildings like the Golden Gate Bridge. The Pennsylvania Turnpike, opened on October 1, 1940, was the first long-distance limited-access highway in the United States, revolutionizing automobile travel. Pennsylvania's manufacturing sector employed over 1.5 million workers in 1950, representing nearly 40% of the state's workforce during the post-war boom. The decline of Pennsylvania's steel industry accelerated in the 1970s and 1980s, with mills closing across the state and eliminating hundreds of thousands of jobs. 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant near Harrisburg experienced a partial meltdown on March 28, 1979, creating the most serious nuclear accident in United States commercial power history. Pennsylvania's economy has diversified significantly since the industrial era, with healthcare, education, and technology sectors growing to replace traditional manufacturing jobs. Pennsylvania covers 46,055 square miles, making it the 33rd largest state by area, with dimensions of roughly 283 miles east to west and 160 miles north to south. The state features 7 distinct physiographic regions, including the Atlantic Coastal Plain, Piedmont, Blue Ridge, Ridge and Valley, Allegheny Plateau, Erie Plain, and the Central Lowlands. Mount Davis in Somerset County stands at 3,213 feet above sea level, making it Pennsylvania's highest point, while the Delaware River at sea level is the lowest. Pennsylvania contains approximately 83,000 miles of rivers and streams, including major waterways like the Delaware, Susquehanna, Allegheny, Monongahela, and Ohio rivers. The Susquehanna River, flowing 444 miles, is the longest river on the American East Coast and provides approximately half of the freshwater flowing into the Chesapeake Bay. Pennsylvania has only 51 miles of Lake Erie shoreline, but this small coast provides crucial port access and creates a unique microclimate supporting grape vineyards. The Allegheny National Forest in northwestern Pennsylvania covers over 513,000 acres and is the state's only national forest, featuring old-growth hemlock and diverse wildlife. Pennsylvania's Ridge and Valley region features long, parallel mountain ridges running northeast to southwest, created by the folding of rock layers millions of years ago. The Pocono Mountains in northeastern Pennsylvania span 4 counties and feature over 2,400 square miles of forested highlands, numerous lakes, and waterfalls. Pennsylvania experiences a humid continental climate with 4 distinct seasons, though temperatures and precipitation vary significantly between the southeast and northwest regions. The state receives an average of 42 inches of precipitation annually, with snowfall ranging from 20 inches in the southeast to over 100 inches in the northern mountains. Pennsylvania contains over 3,000 caves, with Laurel Caverns in Fayette County being the largest at over 3 miles of mapped passages. Pennsylvania forests cover approximately 16.9 million acres, representing about 59% of the state's total land area and supporting a robust timber industry. The Appalachian Trail passes through Pennsylvania for approximately 229 miles, featuring some of the rockiest terrain along the entire 2,190-mile trail. Presque Isle State Park on Lake Erie is a recurring sandbar peninsula stretching into the lake, creating Pennsylvania's only surf beach and crucial habitat for migratory birds. Pennsylvania's karst topography in the south-central region features numerous sinkholes, disappearing streams, and limestone caves created by groundwater dissolving bedrock. The state experiences an average of 16 tornadoes per year, with the most severe weather typically occurring in the summer months across central and western counties. Pennsylvania is home to over 12.9 million residents as of 2023, making it the fifth most populous state in the United States. The Betsy Ross House in Philadelphia is traditionally recognized as where the first American flag was sewn in 1776, though historians debate the authenticity of this claim. Pennsylvania has 67 counties, with Philadelphia County being both a city and county, the only first-class city in the state with consolidated city-county government. The Pennsylvania Dutch, primarily German immigrants, settled in southeastern Pennsylvania in the 18th century, creating a unique culture known for hex signs, shoofly pie, and Pennsylvania German dialect. Lancaster County is home to one of America's largest Amish populations, with over 40,000 Amish people maintaining traditional lifestyles without electricity or automobiles. The Philly cheesesteak was invented in Philadelphia in the 1930s by Pat and Harry Olivieri, becoming the city's most iconic culinary contribution. Pennsylvania is nicknamed the Keystone State because of its central location among the original 13 colonies and its crucial role in the nation's founding. Punxsutawney Phil, the famous groundhog, has been predicting the arrival of spring on February 2nd since 1887 in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. The Gettysburg Address, delivered by President Abraham Lincoln on November 19, 1863, lasted just over 2 minutes but became one of history's most famous speeches. Pennsylvania has produced numerous famous figures, including Andy Warhol, Fred Rogers, Tom Mix, Gene Kelly, James Stewart, and Taylor Swift. The state motto is Virtue, Liberty, and Independence, reflecting Pennsylvania's founding principles and revolutionary heritage. Pennsylvania's state animal is the white-tailed deer, abundant throughout the state's forests and farmlands, with an estimated population exceeding 1.5 million. The ruffed grouse became Pennsylvania's state bird in 1931, chosen for its importance to hunters and its presence throughout Pennsylvania's woodlands. Pennsylvania was the first state to list its website URL on its license plates in 2000, displaying www.state.pa.us alongside the state's tourism slogan. The state tree is the eastern hemlock, designated in 1931, though this species has been threatened by the invasive hemlock woolly adelgid insect. Pennsylvania's state flower is the mountain laurel, which blooms in late May and early June with distinctive pink and white flowers throughout the state's forests. Hershey Park, opened in 1906 as a leisure park for Hershey Chocolate Company employees, has grown into one of America's premier amusement parks. Pennsylvania has 121 state parks covering over 300,000 acres, offering diverse recreational opportunities from hiking to boating. The state insect is the Pennsylvania firefly, designated in 1974, which creates magical summer displays across fields and forests with its bioluminescent abdomen. Pennsylvania has more than 200 covered bridges still standing, the most of any state, with Lancaster County alone containing 28 historic covered bridges. The Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh is the largest museum in North America dedicated to a single artist, housing extensive collections of his pop art. Pennsylvania's state beverage is milk, designated in 1982 to honor the Commonwealth's significant dairy industry. The state dog is the Great Dane, chosen in 1965, though the selection's reasoning remains somewhat mysterious to historians. Pennsylvania has 18 electoral votes in presidential elections, making it a crucial swing state that often determines election outcomes. Opening in 1829, the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia revolutionized prison design with its radial floor plan and solitary confinement system. Pennsylvania's oldest continuously operating theater is the Walnut Street Theater in Philadelphia, which opened in 1809 and still produces performances today. The state fossil is Phacops rana, a trilobite that lived approximately 350 million years ago when Pennsylvania was covered by warm, shallow seas. Kennywood Park in West Mifflin, near Pittsburgh, opened in 1898 and is designated as a National Historic Landmark for its preservation of classic amusement rides. Pennsylvania has more golf courses than any other state except Florida and California, with over 700 courses throughout the Commonwealth. The state beautification and conservation plant is Pengift crownvetch, designated in 1982 for its effectiveness in preventing soil erosion along highways. Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where both the Declaration of Independence and Constitution were debated and signed, became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979. Pennsylvania remains a vital economic and cultural force in America, blending its rich historical legacy with modern innovation, diverse communities, and natural beauty, continuing to live up to its role as the true Keystone State. With that, we conclude our journey through facts about Pennsylvania. May these stories of history, industry, geography, and culture bring you peaceful rest.